James Farley, welcome to the studio, welcome to the podcast, and welcome back to the great city of Liverpool.
Yeah, well, thanks very much for having me.
So according to your LinkedIn, you're a delivery and transformation leader, stabilizing the flow of value amid chaos, treating systemic waste, and you have an outcome-focused delivery sort of mindset. Grounded in 3 principles: evidence over activity, radical clarity, and stability under pressure. Does that sound like you?
There is some cringe stuff in there.
Yeah, I wasn't going to... You would get bored of me reading your own long bio, and I would fluff up so many of the words that it would become unlistenable. But broadly...
Well, that's still good feedback, right?
Yeah, broadly. Does that sound like you?
Yeah.
I've got the right person. So, as you may or may not know, if I've got someone on, I will do a bit of digging into their LinkedIn posts and just see what they've been up to, really. And then we were talking before the recording got underway, that you've been doing a lot of agentic AI work, which I haven't really seen. But I came across this one, which explained what you were doing, and more importantly, why you were doing it. So this is in your words, in my voice. So I've shared a couple of how videos on using agentic AI, but skipped why and haven't got to the what just yet. On the why, though, Mike would ask me a question that provoked me into making my why and a post of its own. So the question is, why should people care about agentic AI beyond the hype? For me, as in for you, I know it's probably not a universally understood reference, but it feels like when Sibelius, thank you, which is a music writing software, was first released. So glad you saved me there. I remember when I was in school, that it eliminated barriers and made it possible to compose something amazing, even if you couldn't draw a treble clef or a semiquaver. That's my knowledge done. I mean, it also meant that you could create some absolute monsters too. But like learning any instrument / new language, you get better through practice. This is like that dialed up to 11 because it's not limited to making music. It's a universal opportunity development. Unlike most early adoption territory, this tech is incredibly accessible and incredibly cheap to experiment with. But I'm not trying to sell it, just share what I've been learning in case others find it helpful / interesting. What's been going on? Before we get into like the Kanban and delivery and you stuff.
So there's... people are more than entitled to feel however they want to feel about AI. Like, lots of people are scared. Lots of people are excited. I'm in the excited camp. And I think that the analogy with that Sibelius software is, at that time in school, I was playing in brass bands and orchestras, and I was doing stuff that was musical, but I could read it and play it, and I couldn't really write anything that was beyond a single instrument doing some stuff. And then when I got access to, so I'm laughing because it was like turning up at some drug dealer's house. I managed to get hold of a copy of Sibelius when it had been released, but it was bootlegged. So I turned up at this mutual friend of a friend that played in the brass band, said he could get me some stuff, and I plugged it into my computer. And you kind of have a few different ways that you engage with that software. But one of the easiest ways is to just hook it up to a keyboard, you play some stuff, and then it transposes that onto a screen in front of you. If you play it back, it sounds like what you've just played, but it'll look pretty horrible because it's written precisely what you've played. And then you can switch instruments, you can kind of layer upon layer, just playing what you can play. And every time you do it, you get the feedback of so you can either play kind of accompanied with the thing that you just played, like a loop box, I suppose. It meant that when I was learning, I did produce some absolute monsters, some things that just sounded pretty horrible to hear back. But I was able to study music and write some things that I was able to put forward. And I think if it wasn't for having access to that software, I would have struggled. It would have just been me playing a tuba. Like, who wants to hear that? And this, for me, saying that it's dialed up to 11 is because that unlocked me with music. this is much broader. Whether that's as a business owner, I've been able to create stuff that I've navigated away from Wix that I was using as a website, built not just the externally facing stuff, but internally facing as well. I'm able to genuinely use that for lead development, content creation, opportunity finding, all sorts of stuff, just by having a conversation with generative AI about what I might want to do with a virtual assistant, and then putting together this plan or proposition or thing to my Agentic AI, and seeing what it comes out with, and iterating and solving the problems that I have. But also, my wife was like, well, that thing that you're doing, I had a bit of a kind of product idea. Can we do something on there? We spin that up. My kids created some games. Some of that's on Lovable. Some of that's using my Agentic AI, because you've probably seen some of the stuff about Lovable in the community development stuff that Mike and I had been doing. So yeah, it's spiraled into so many different things. It has been all consuming for me. For me, it's super exciting, but it's not purely exciting. There are some bad things that I'm seeing, either monsters that are being created because people are just like, we need to use AI. How can we shoehorn it into whatever we're doing? Starting with AI as the solution, and then trying to work out how they can fit that in, which might not always be best. And I don't know where you might want to take this, but I suppose there are two primary things in regards to product development, how we use AI in the world that we operate in, that I'm less than excited about. But simply access to this tool and the way it can level up your thinking. And I don't need to learn software development. I can read stuff better than I can write stuff, and I don't need to write it anymore.
Yeah. So we might as well go down the alley. What are you less excited about from a product management or product point of view?
So what we can do very easily is spin up high fidelity proof of concepts. And before AI, when you showed a proof of concept to a stakeholder, a customer, depending on what it looked like, they might expect that thing straight away. And I imagine it being like that on steroids. Here's a thing that I've been able to go onto a tool like Base 44, whatever tool, and so easily just put in bare minimum prompt and see a thing that you can actually click through. It's exciting, but it can give a misrepresentation about how ready it is for that stuff to be, going in production, going into use. And the reality of being able to actually get that shippable in, high compliance type of regulated environments, it could be months after what takes you minutes to write. I think there's opportunity in there as well, but that's one thing that I think it'll enhance how hard it is to manage people's expectations around how long it's going to take to build the thing. The other is, once people do see that high fidelity kind of prototype, I think it's quite likely that development teams will end up giving that as a spec. This is what I want. I want this button up there looking like that. And I worry about it feeding another challenge that we see about teams of mercenaries that simply implement the thing that they're asked to, and taking the agency away from the developers that know the most about that product and the customers to actually make better decisions. If you stop developers or teams, product people that are building stuff from being able to come up with suggestions, they're not going to come up with suggestions. They're just going to implement what's asked for, and that's not very satisfying. It's not very,
which is what we're trying to get away from as well.
Yeah. So anyway. I think there's a good chance that those two kind of anti-pattern product build stuff, there's a chance that they get enhanced. But I think they're treatable.
Yeah. How?
Awareness, and got it. Empowering teams to say no as well. But a lot of the challenges that product teams face aren't about how they do their work. It's about the culture and the environment that they're operating in, how their leaders behave, and that's where the education needs to happen.
Cool. So rewinding a bit, what's been the high level sort of comic book version of your journey so far? Because you also spent just over 7 years in the army. Am I correct in saying?
I did, yeah.
Yeah. So tell us a bit about Like how have you?
How did I get from there to here?
Yeah.
I mean, I didn't
everything in
plan to be
between.
a transformation consultant. I don't know how many people. I mean, when you ask this of people, like how did you get into the job that you're doing now? I don't know how often you find people say, I just fell into it.
All the time.
Yeah. I mean, and it's true. I didn't set out to be doing this. I thought I would get bored. So my job in the army was very active. I got to do incredibly interesting stuff from starting out as an intelligence analyst. I didn't realize how relevant some of the stuff I did then applies now. That's sorting through big data to find intelligence from information and being able to surface that for other people. Really enjoyed doing that. But then I got an opportunity to get into EOD teams and doing bomb disposal, completely different world. Yeah. But I was spending a lot of time away from my partner at the time, and we wanted to do the family planning thing. Yeah. So she was in the military as well, but she got out the year before me. And it didn't help us being able to spend time together. So I was getting out. And what I thought I wanted to do is use the skills that I was using in the military, because I didn't know what world was like outside. I'd worked in retail before the army, and I didn't really know what I wanted to do afterwards. And the most I could think about the transferable skills and things that could earn me money was swinging from ropes, jumping out of helicopters and stuff. So I wanted to work on wind turbines offshore. Went for an interview, smashed that and did get offered the job. But then I was like, I'm going to do exactly the same thing. I'm getting out of the military to spend time with my family, and with offshore working, you're not guaranteed to be able to come home at the weekends. So am I being a bit short-sighted about this? And a lot of my peers were using some of their experience, and it's difficult to say this. They're working in security cleared type environments, so they wanted to be able to continue that outside. So they'd start working in project management, delivery related stuff. So I decided, well, if they're all doing it, I'll copy my peers and I'll just try it for a year. So I set up a company, did contracting for a year, and I...
Straight into contracting?
Oh, you said comic book, actually, and I'm going into quite a lot of detail.
But you went straight into contracting.
I went straight into contracting and just like scraped the job, because it was all about being able to practice Prince 2. It was a very Prince 2 governed environment. I'd have to work it out. I'm useless at remembering years.
Oh, sorry.
It was immediately when I'd left the military.
It's a big shift. There's a big red flag going straight into the contracting world.
Yeah, but that was just about if you could parrot Prince 2, then you'd be in. It was a very Prince 2 governed environment. And I found that I enjoyed that a lot more than I expected. I thought being tied to a desk, office working, would make me want to scrape my eyes out, because I just wanted to be outside doing stuff. But I just found it more stressful, actually, than climbing up cruise liners and jumping out of planes. It was genuinely stressful when you have very little control over what's going to go wrong around you, and the people aspect, is a variability that is just you can't predict what you're going to get from one place to the next. So I lent into it a bit, but I decided that I didn't want to just do contracting. Wanted to go perm, and worked for some large companies, and eventually started project managing a team that was doing agile development. It's quite a large team. And I got to see, it was like the best and worst project I've ever worked on in my life, a very career defining thing. And I got to experience the true benefits of what agile done well can look like when everything's going to shit around you. If the team are invested in the mission, then you're going to be able to work around it. And it was, it was really great. And so that I started leaning more into, well, instead of spending all of my life into the stupid hours of the morning generating project plans that are meaningless the very next day, why don't I invest more time in the lifting up of people that I've seen some Scrum Masters do, and invested in that. When I stopped calling myself a project manager and started calling myself a Scrum Master, I just got hooked for continuous personal development and learning. And I think that was a signal to me that was a calling. because all the time before that, I was very, like, the military mindset that I had was, if the army needs me to learn something, they'll teach me. If they need me to use something, they'll give it to me. And I didn't take the agency on myself to kind of learn and self-develop. It wasn't until I became a Scrum Master that I just became thirsty and I couldn't stop trying to learn.
I think a lot of people in big corporates, though, sometimes have that mindset of, well, if L&D haven't sent me on the course, I'm not doing it.
Yeah. But it was definitely the mindset that I'd had.
Yeah. Yeah, same. Like, don't get me wrong, but it's an interesting one.
And then I decided that maybe the corporate world wasn't for me, because there were some conflicts. Like, when I did want to go away and do some training, I'd identified a gap. I wanted to enhance my business analyst skills in particular. I figured that as a project manager, as a Scrum Master, as a effective team member, I should be able to help with requirement solicitation and helping teams understand what they're building, understanding systems. And the response I got when I came up with a plan, found some BCS course and put a bit of a business case together. And I was asked, well, do you want to be a BA, James? Well, no, it's just a gap. Okay, well, if you don't want to be a BA, this isn't going to happen. You can go refresh your Prince 2 course. Well,
helpful.
So yeah, it was events like that. There was like, well, if I set up my own company, perhaps I could afford these things that I wanted to be able to do. I had all the learning that I was consumed by was all freely accessible podcasts, books, so free or very cheap.
Yeah.
But I wasn't able to fund courses that I wanted to be able to do. So my incentive for getting my own company started was that I could set myself a training budget quite, it was 10 grand a month, so 10 grand a year, 10 grand a month, 10 grand a year, to be able to just throw into whatever training I wanted, which was amazing for those first 2 years. And kind of got to where I am now, leaning into the Kanban stuff, becoming a trainer. And that was great. But with the setting up my own company, I didn't really want to just be pigeonholed into a Scrum Master function. And over the past 3 years, I've had the more versatility than I have in anything else, probably inside or outside. In the military, there was a big drastic difference between those two main roles. Whereas outside, it's been the Agile coaching, Scrum Mastery. I was very keen to do genuine product ownership as well, because I think to be an effective Agile coach, you should really have experienced firsthand, a lot of those jobs. So I'm lucky I've been able to have experience with all of those different opportunities, but it does make it quite difficult to say, what am I? What's the thing I offer? And then in my LinkedIn bio, it's really finding out waste that's in a system, trying to work out how teams can work better, and surfacing problems.
Which leans into the Kanban element, really.
Yeah.
What attracted you to that? I suppose just as importantly for the listener, watcher, consumer. Where do teams struggle with it? Like, what are the themes, the patterns you see, and what can they do about it? Specifically, Kanban, because that seems to be a particular.
Well, there's a risk I go on a tangent because it's quite big, right? So I might need you to bring me back. I think the first thing I'll start with was what was my in to Kanban, and I describe it as a gateway drug. If drugs were healthy, because when I was a Scrum Master, I found it hard to have impact outside of the team that I was serving, or teams. But there's only so far that retrospecting, making change on the stuff that's within that system, there's a limit. It's the teams are operating within a larger system, but a lot of the time we're very much focusing on how to get that change. So Kanban was the tool that I was able to use to surface all of the impediments, all of the challenges that are going on in the larger system, in the actual system, not just in the development world. And it became a very quickly a tool that spoke the language that leaders needed to hear, rather than the airy fairy, the team don't feel great. I might track team satisfaction, for example, is a thing that teams would score, but able to do some great stuff with turning that into a data point. but it doesn't actually help leaders like move a needle on the actions that they're taking. Whereas you can surface, I mean, trying to think about how to put this in perspective. So
what about Kanban? What are the specifics about Kanban? I know the answer, but what are the specifics about Kanban that help leaders get to where they need to be?
Yeah, so Kanban itself doesn't solve any problems. It will just say data. Data is data. That is what it is. If that's what you want to design for, that is what you're going to get. You can get very efficient at doing the wrong thing.
And by data, what do you mean?
Very fundamentally, how long it takes to get stuff done, and how confidently teams would be able to say when they're going to be able to get some stuff done in the future, making things that turn into commitments and setting better expectations about what's actually achievable. So things that you can get for free once you start actually using Kanban, at a very fundamental level. Lots of people complain that the team don't keep Jira up to date. Why would they? They're focusing on the thing that's valuable to them is actually doing the work. If they don't see the value in moving a card along a board, to them, they don't need to know, but they don't need to move it because they already know where it's at. They're talking to each other. They know the thing's in progress or it's not. But when they start using their data to be able to say what's going on in the system, when they're looking back on it and they're going, yeah, that thing wasn't in progress for 3 days. We just didn't move the card. But when they see that the data is for them to be able to inspect the system and make some changes, then they see the benefit in knocking these things on. If they're only seeing it as a way that somebody from outside of the team can receive a report and decide how healthy or unhealthy the team are, and it's all stick, get Jira up to date, then they're not going to see the value in it, so it's not going to be a priority. So if the what's in it for them is they actually get to use their data to make changes to improve their system, they're just naturally more motivated to do it. So that's a very fundamental level.
Yeah. And when people talk about Kanban, a lot of the flow metrics come up quite a lot. What does that actually mean?
Yeah, and there are two primary camps on Kanban, so we do have different flow metrics. But try not to think about it as a them and us culture. There's Kanban University, which was kind of the OG, and then out of Kanban University, there was born Pro Kanban.
Such a cringy name, though, isn't it? I know you have to sit on the fence, but Kanban University, mate, come on. But that's just my personal opinion.
And well, there was a couple of reasons why I ended up going with Pro Kanban anyway. One, at the time, I didn't have spare money to be able to go and do courses, and I felt it to be quite gated. The only way you could actually get into that, the real part of that content or engage with the community was as you've done the course, then you become alumni, and then you can go in and talk to people.
Kiss the ring.
Well, whereas with Pro Kanban is very much open. The barrier for cost-wise for entry is much lower. You can do your self-learning and then take an assessment to validate that learning. And that's the approach that I took.
So you're a Pro Kanban trainer.
Pro Kanban trainer. Yeah. So fundamentally, there are things that we both care about, which is how long does it take to get from whatever you consider to be a start point of a system, what it takes to be at the end point. And you can have different start points, you can have different end points, but that is, as long as what you're measuring is a thing of value, you can try to improve that. So you can get that same thing of value shipped for less time if you focus on the idle time. How long is this thing just sat in a system waiting for somebody to pick it up? Because if you can treat those, then you get optimization and it costs you nothing, or next to nothing. Depending on the change that you want to make.
Yeah.
But there very much is you get what you measure, and if all you care about is improved cycle times, which is a shared metric that both of those sides of camps care about, if all you want is improved cycle times, then you could get a situation where you're not actually measuring the thing that's valuable anymore. You can be measuring at too low a level, very, very task-focused level. I was working for a company where they would create a work item for research on a particular activity that would go start to finish, and another would be maybe a proof of concept, and then another would be the development, another would be testing. So your cycle times are slick, the thing goes through. But if you're not measuring the first points, when you started investing any effort in that thing, and when you actually got it shipped, then you're not actually getting any value out of that. So when I joined that team, I increased cycle times. But to me, that was a good thing because actually the work that we were doing represented a single unit of value. It was a card that would go through for, do we actually want to qualify this? Do we actually want to do any work on it at all? And then we'll either get it out of the system because it's not valuable, which is valuable data. How often are we doing this? How often are we picking up these things and chucking them away? Maybe that is a return on investment for using something like Kanban, because you're no longer wasting all of your time on all of these things. Cycle time is just one of those metrics. Always looking to decrease cycle time is probably a myth that's a good thing to do, because you can break these things down so small that they're not valuable anymore. The one that if there was a single metric that mattered the most, it is absolutely work item age. And it's not, I don't want to encourage them and us. That's not a Kanban University metric. That is a pro Kanban metric. But we're of the opinion that if you manage work item age, which is simply once the thing has started, whatever you've defined as started, and it's not finished, it's aging.
Yeah.
So if you can pay attention to the work item age and prioritize your work so that the thing which started soonest actually gets out of the system soonest, and you get some validated value out of that thing, then all of your other metrics kind of look after themselves. If you're focusing on that, you're probably going to improve your cycle time. You're probably going to reduce your WIP unintentionally, because if you know you've got old stuff in the system, you're probably not going to bring new stuff in until you've got rid of that. Yeah. So you're unconsciously reducing your level of work in progress.
So if you've got a load of stuff in progress, again, I'm thinking about the people wanting to take advantage of this and implement the ideas. You've got a list of stuff. Which one would you focus on getting to the end first? The one that was soonest in progress, or the one that's been there the longest?
Yeah, and it's
obviously there's a value question there, but take the value question away.
Yeah,
just as a pure, which one would you?
And my chuckle is because we didn't discuss any fines for how many times I might say it depends.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah.
But most teams have evolved from having their stand-ups and their discussions that say, what have you done today? What are you going to do next? What have you done today? You've got any blockers and all of that. Most teams have evolved to looking at a board of work and then talking about the work instead of what the people are doing. And that's great. If that's the only information you've got, then what you end up doing, hopefully, is focusing on the stuff on the right-hand side of your board, because that's the stuff that's closest to getting value and you want that out of your system.
Yeah.
But if you only do that, then there are some things which can end up stockpiling or becoming stagnant in progress because it's blocked or it's difficult or you're not able to get hold of a stakeholder. So instead of treating it, you bring in new work. And that might give an impression of a healthy system. You see stuff flowing through. What you don't see is that thing getting older and older. So if you was to nail me to a binary answer, what is it best to look at? It is definitely what's the oldest.
Yeah.
But if in your system, the stuff which is in progress happens to be the oldest, but you do have some stuff that's ready that is not quite as old, but it's ready to be shipped. We're not all in a situation where the products that you deliver keep the project alive.
Yeah.
But some places are. So it may make sense to just get the thing out the door, which is close to finish, because you can actually get value out of that. But you absolutely need to be paying attention to the stuff which is the oldest. Otherwise, you're just, most people will be aware of tech debt. I think it's pretty universally understood that you make some conscious decisions and you may have to pay back some technical debt.
Yeah.
That's flow debt. It's exactly the same principle, but you're building up challenges with how value is flowing in your system.
We struck gold there. Thank you for that. I think people, give food for thought instead of just broad. That was quite deep, which is what we want from these episodes, so people can learn, take away, experiment, take the good stuff. You mentioned before about self-development, vitally important for everyone really, but especially if you're a freelancer, business owner, someone going in and out of organizations. Again, thinking about the listener, are there any books? I've wrote courses here, which, we'll stick with it. Books, courses, people that have been especially influential on your learning in this space that you would recommend that people go and buy, speak to, invest in?
Yeah, and a and it depends isn't valuable. One thing I've been working on is a bit of like not so much a learning tree, but a tool that you can work with to talk about to surface what you're actually interested in. Because I could sit here and say, well, if people are just working in product, go and read the Kanban guide because I'm very biased. But there's free stuff. There is no excuse for not self-developing. Fundamentally, there's so much amazing free content, podcasts, things that can be consumed. But what I don't know is everybody as interested in Kanban as I am? Is Scrum still the answer for lots of people?
But you can only speak about
So
if it's helped you, I'm sure it'll help.
The stuff that's helped me the most, more so than any training, has been community-led stuff. So I've worked in a couple of organizations that have been very mature in their agile working. So having communities where those like-minded people will get together and share some stuff, that's been just invaluable to me, and seeing how other people operate. Because I think when you're operating as a Scrum Master or as a product owner, and a couple of other roles as well, you don't tend to get to learn from the people that are around you. You end up going in to do that job, and there isn't another Scrum Master on the team because you're the person that's carrying out that accountability. So that can be tricky, but working with other Scrum Masters, you can get to learn that way. So step one is find a community that's talking about stuff that you're interested in, and show up and ask questions and maybe get involved.
That's a nice segue into the community that you've started, I suppose.
Although we could probably come back to that. It wasn't a pitch. It wasn't.
I know, but I just
join a community, and I happen to have one.
That's one of the reasons why you're here. But was that because you felt like something was missing?
Yeah. I mean, honestly, I think that's probably a topic that's worth coming back to. I wanted to offer something more that was just go and do some self-development.
Yeah, so books, people, communities, you've mentioned, you've touched on. I'll
mention a podcast which has a huge back catalogue of stuff, which was the Agile Wire.
Okay.
One of the reasons why I love that is because one of the hosts, Scrum Master, another host, product owner, and they're very candid, and they get some awesome people on their show. And the back catalogue got me through my DIY. I'd be doing DIY around the house with just the Agile Wire on, or Vasco Duarte's Obvious Scrum Master Toolbox podcast there. Just so easily accessible and consumable. There's one book which was probably the most dense for value, was Lisa Adkins' Coaching Agile Teams. I listened to that one as a Kindle audiobook thing. I think I needed to read the physical book because it's just so much knowledge.
Feels like a hard lesson. but
very valuable.
A reference one, I would say.
Yeah, very valuable.
I'm not saying it's a bad book, but it's like it's a bit of a like listen. Yeah, I haven't listened to it. I've read it. I've got it. I reference it, but I imagine it's not it's not one you would take out on a run. Put it that way.
It was just the accessibility of doing. I was doing lots of DIY stuff at the time, and I was consuming all of these things. And so one of those other tangents then was the community stuff. And for me there was a gap. I think people like me were the problem as well. So COVID happened, and I saw such an opportunity in joining a load of communities that were otherwise not accessible to me, meetups in the States and all over the UK. So I joined these communities, and I'd be going along to their virtual events. And then we were out of lockdown, and the communities wanted to be able to meet up again. But I think they got pretty diluted by people like me that joined them at the time. And I feel like it kind of, I mean, it's just a hypothesis. I think they lost a bit of their identity, their community identity because of that. But regardless of whatever the reason was, it was a gap. It was something that I was missing, and bumped into a chap I used to work with a long time ago, Mike Wood, when some stuff was kicking back up again. And then some months later, he reached out and he was like, "Hey, I've been kind of missing groups, and I can't see local stuff. Should we give it a go?" So. We spent a few months planning, but we were very much like, well, we could talk about this all we like. We should probably just get it started. We should show up, regardless of how many people turn up. Yeah. We will continue to show up every once a month.
Well, what's it called? Where is it?
So it's Agile Gloss.
Yeah.
It took us a long time to kind of, again, we were just like, we need to pick a name that people know what they're going to get. And it's not about agility. It's about product change.
Yeah, but that's very hard to write. But that's very hard to articulate when people are looking for a meetup in November, right? You need to choose a name.
Yeah, but there is certainly an allergic reaction to Agile.
Mate, you're talking to someone who's got a business called Everyday Agile.
And I'd set up my company called Smagile as a kind of agile Smagile. It's not about being agile. It's about doing stuff. And then, but you end up, it's got Agile in the name, whether you like it or not.
Yeah.
It's Agile Gloss. We meet once a month. It will only ever be face-to-face. It would take an event like COVID for us to go virtual. But even then we would keep it, a local club for local people.
Yeah.
It's all about that, making connections. And we had been trying to make it sort of sponsorship free. So it's not about preaching our own stuff. It is entirely about building up the people that are in the community and those mutual networks. Because I think there's one thing that people crave, not just the learning, but also the ability to enhance their own networks within there. And we've got we've had and have some exciting things coming up as well from people within the community that are practicing their own stuff. We've just done a hackathon, which I've never done a hackathon before because I'm not technical, but it was very successfunk and that was
just in the evening, like a 1 hour hackathon.
2 hours. It was just Mike and I had set a problem, and the team worked on that problem, and for a short amount of time, essentially just proving how you can get from idea to something that you can touch and feel and test.
Using Lovable, I'm assuming.
Yep, yeah, sponsored by Lovable, that one, which we were very grateful for. Well, as in they effectively gave everybody 25 quid of credits to be able to use, and they consumed a very small portion of it and then had the rest to play with. Okay. And then we changed the scenario, did something else in the second half, and the point of it was really to enhance the benefits of using these generative AI tools, which is producing disposable prototypes very quickly. Like there's another chap I've been talking with recently, Andy Kidd, and we've got a plan. We've got something that I'm pretty excited about to put together, which is if we focus on where we see the most value on the agentic AI, generative AI, the role that it can have in accelerating our work, is very much in treating the bets. When you work in product development, you're making bets. You've got a team that can spend an amount of time doing some stuff, and you wanted them to do the most valuable stuff. So if you can prove or disprove the potential value of those things that you could pick up very early on, then you can make the better bets for working downstream. So we're coming up with a bit of a proof of concept demonstrator thing that we intend to take on the road. So that's exciting. And that was another tangent, right? So back to and then the community thing.
That's
So it's, what I love about these things is the way that they have been spinning off into these other different threads. Not great for managing WIP, but super exciting. And the stuff that we got coming up in the future. There's for Agile Gloss. There's talk next week by member of the community, and next month's Dave West's from Scrum.org doing a talk.
Virtual.
No, he's coming over.
He's coming.
We are that big.
I was going to say.
It happens to be in the area, and friend of a friend had mentioned the.
That'd be cool.
The group. So looking forward to that as well. And I'm hoping that what we can do is encourage more of not just more people that can attend and get value out of the session, but that a lot more of the experiments that we can do in the future are led by the people that are in the room as well. That it's very member driven.
What's next for you personally? You got any courses that we can plug? You got any? Where can people? If you look at that camera there, where can people reach out for your services, courses, resources? I'll put the meetup in the description, obviously. But
thanks. Yeah, so I don't actually have any.
Plug your shit, mate.
I don't have any courses planned.
Why not?
Why not? It's really difficult to sell them.
But do you think
it's difficult to sell them. I mean, the people don't want to buy courses, but it seems at the minute it's a tricky sell. So certainly public courses, very hard to fill those seats. More than happy putting on private courses as well. And another thing that I love about the Pro Kanban community is the kind of just peer support within the trainer community. You could think of each other as competitors because you're trying to do these, but it's really not like that. It's very much, very mutually supportive and trying to get this stuff together and support each other.
So I know you a bit, so I'm going to push you on this. Specifically, what's the business provides to organizations? When you talk about private courses, someone's listening to this, they like your spiel.
Mm-hmm.
Like what? You know.
Okay, so what I care about the most isn't passing an exam. It's not being able to say that you are a Kanban professional. It's very hard to be able to give true training and development in what's just a couple of days. So what I've tried to offer as a bit of a differentiator when I deliver courses is, yes, there's the course, but if you've attended that course, you can attend any future course for free. That's the same. If you attend an APK, in 3 years' time, you want to refresh and join another APK, it wouldn't cost you anything.
And what's that? What's that stand for?
Applying professional Kanban.
Cool.
I do think that there's an enhancement that we could do, which is not just the fundamentals of Kanban, but being able to immediately take away what good metric analysis actually looks like. I don't want to go into it feels like we're wrapping, so I don't want to open up a can of worms with the burn down and what good metrics actually look like and good charts and how you can analyze those. But that is absolutely what I think people should be able to go away from foundational Kanban training with the knowledge of. But you don't get that from an APK immediately. You do get nods to it, but I prefer to put on like you attend that course and then you can join me on a call with other people that have taken courses as well, and we'll just handle the real world scenarios. So you've learned some theory, then you've been trying to practice it. What are the struggles, and how is that stuff kind of relevant for what you're doing? So I guess that's a bit of the differentiator that I want to be able to do. And there is very much an ex-military link as well. So what I don't want to do is offer seats on a course just to fill those seats as public courses where a military person might have paid significantly less than a non-military person, because that's not fair. I would much rather put on a specific, this is ex-veteran, like community stuff, or soon to be ex-veteran maybe, and be supportive that way and try to give back that way, rather than having mixed cohorts of stuff. So it does mean that my planning is a bit just in time. I'll start to hear about stuff and then I'll put on a course specifically for that need.
And you're available for consultancy, delivery roles?
Yeah.
Where can people reach out, etc.?
As much as I hate LinkedIn, it's probably the best place to be able to reach out. I would love it if somebody reached out with a good alternative. LinkedIn's not going away, is it?
Why do you hate it? Just out of interest.
Because I think what it should be doing is helping people like me, helping small business owners actually be able to genuinely network with people, share information and have that in a way that it can be consumed, and doing the opposite of stubbing out dead links, external links. The way that activity gets suppressed when it's the gold that should be available within LinkedIn is looking at the wrong metrics. It's looking at time spent in app, whereas LinkedIn has the monopoly. It already has a monopoly on business development out in the wild. It doesn't. I don't think it adds any value. It's detrimental. I'm seeing content when I should be in a bit of an echo chamber. I've tried to fight the echo chamber by deliberately reaching out to people that don't care about Agile and Kanban and stuff. But I still, instead of seeing content from people that I'm following and I'm interested in, I'm seeing Korean robots getting kicked over and invited on some Singaporean retreats. Like, it's stuff that's not relevant to me, and I'm not seeing things that I am most interested in. But there is no getting away from the fact that employers want to be able to check out your LinkedIn profile and stuff that's you've been going on and what the kind of things you talk about. I think it's a powerful tool that way. It's just a shame to see that Like I now spend so little time putting content together for LinkedIn because of I know it doesn't get the reach. My reason for doing it has switched from business development to learning tool. You're asking me what I do for learning. Now part of the reason for putting that content together is simply so I can get feedback and learn. But then I have a reason for doing it, because then it doesn't matter if there's only 10 people that see it. I'm still putting the content together and getting the value out that way. I'm really dancing around this. You're trying to help me support my own business and pitch and sell myself. I'm making it very difficult. Rubbish at selling myself. But there are some things that my business is good at, we are offering. One of them is I've set up what I've called the Agile Partner Network. And it's specifically for insurance, because that's where I spent most of my recent time kind of outside of cyber, engaging with some incredibly competent senior leaders within product. But it's not recruitment, it's making introductions for companies that have a need with that side of life. So yeah, if that's something that people are interested in, I've certainly got some very capable people on the books to make an introduction to. And I guess it's plugging a different gap. It's not, like I say, it's not about recruitment. And it's not subcontracting people through my company. It's saying, you've got a need. I know some people. If you want to engage with them, then great. I'm just making that introduction. And yeah, I absolutely do want to be back in full-time, gainfully doing valuable stuff within teams and orgs. The benefit of the time that I've had recently has been the way that I've been able to lean into Agentic AI and do lots of learning that way. I wouldn't have been able to do that otherwise, but it has been able to, I've been able to do a lot of capability development stuff for my own team and my Agentic AI team and my business, but I'll share some more stuff on that as well. Yeah. Reach out to me on LinkedIn.
Cool.
How to make a 30-second segment last 5 minutes.
It's all right. Thank you very much for coming on. Taking the time.
It's flown by, actually.
It has. Been going longer than I thought. But it's good. I think people take a lot away from that. If you like this conversation, there will be another one just above my finger there that YouTube, Rack and Jill enjoy. So go and listen to them. Yeah. Nice one, mate. Thank you very much.
Thank you.